During the latter half of the Levitan Group's online auction, my phone buzzed repeatedly with notifications from my smart vacuum. Gizmo is stuck. Please assist. My brow furrowed. My husband, Samm, was an extreme germaphobe with severe obsessive-compulsive tendencies. Everything from the alignment of the coasters to the exact angle of the bedsheets had to be precisely positioned. Even our intimate moments required a rigorous sanitization process beforehand. Every cleaning path of our robot vacuum, Gizmo, had been meticulously programmed by Samm himself. It was practically impossible for the machine to get stuck. I opened the vacuum's camera feed while texting my husband back home. Gizmo is sending distress signals. Check on him when you get back from work. A few minutes later, his reply came through. K. Just as I was about to message the building manager, a pair of pale, bare feet appeared on the camera feed. In the next second, a familiar, soft giggle echoed through the speaker. Let's do it right here. A pair of women's slippers was carelessly kicked aside. I closed the feed, immediately backed up the video, and forwarded it to my assistant, Paige. Compile a complete inventory of all marital assets. Book me a flight. I'm heading back to New York immediately. I strode out of the conference room. Paige hurried to catch up, flipping open her folder. Ms. Ashford, I identified the woman in the video. She handed me a photograph and briefed me as we walked. Her name is Fiona. She's an intern who joined through the youth recruitment program you established. She only has an associate degree and was assigned to clean and organize the executive suite. Ich glänzte her Resume. She was given a rare opportunity in the executive offices, yet she chose to throw it away. Add her to the layoff list. I handed the folder back, took a couple of steps, and paused. I tapped my finger on Fiona's name. Pull all her expense reports, corporate card transactions, and keycard access logs. Every single one. Understood, Ms. Ashford. We waited in the elevator lobby for 3 minutes. With a soft chime, the elevator doors slid open. Before we could step in, the regional manager blocked the way, holding a massive bouquet of roses in one hand and a tablet in the other. Congratulations on winning the bid, Ms. Ashford. Mr. Levitan rented out an entire restaurant floor. Tonight is a celebration for our overseas team. The tablet screen lit up, showing a video call from Samm. You've worked hard these past 2 months. I'll make it up to you when you return. His voice was deep and steady as he sat upright in his office chair. I didn't say anything, gently pushing the roses aside. What's wrong? You look pale. Samm's face filled the screen, his expression intense and focused. I swallowed the bitter lump in my throat and forced a neutral expression. Nothing. I'm allergic to roses. The screen went quiet for a second before he let out a soft laugh. I thought you liked them. I'll remember that next time. Next time? My chest tightened with a sharp, familiar pain. The first time he had ever sent me roses, my face swelled so badly I had to stay indoors for 3 days. Back then, Samm had been so guilt-ridden that he had the entire rose garden at our estate paved over overnight. But now, his memory only held the preferences of his intern. Samm glanced at his watch. I only have a minute. I have an international board meeting. I froze, my eyes landing on the vibrant checkered tie around his neck. It was loud, flashy, and completely unlike anything in his closet. Samm, do you know what day it is? He paused, rubbing his temple. Right. I almost forgot. It's your birthday. He glanced up, scanning the flight information projected on his screen. I'm sorry. The last flight out tonight has already departed. Let's celebrate tomorrow instead. Before I could speak, a pale, slender hand entered the frame. Samm, can you zip me up? The call was abruptly disconnected. The black screen of the tablet reflected my pale, hollow face. The manager beside me held his breath, while Paige asked softly, Ms. Ashford, should I cancel your ticket? No. We fly tonight. 3 hours later, my flight landed. The arrivals gate was packed with people, each holding a bunch of red roses. The scent was suffocating. I pulled my coat collar up and hurried through the crowd, covering my nose. Happy birthday, Fiona. A familiar masculine voice cut through the noise, freezing me in my tracks. Looking up, I saw 24 rose-shaped fireworks bursting across the night sky, marking Fiona's 24th birthday. In the center of the crowd, a girl in a white dress and a ponytail threw herself into Samm's arms. He caught her, spinning her around. When they stopped, his usually cold, distant eyes held a tenderness I hadn't seen in 5 years. You are the best gift the universe has ever given me, Fiona. A bystander whispered in envy. Must be nice. She casually mentioned wanting to see the ocean, and her billionaire boyfriend flew her out overnight. Another joined in. When you have that kind of money, you can celebrate anywhere. I stood in the crowd, pulling a pack of allergy medication from my purse and swallowing the pills dry. The bitterness lingered on my tongue. Taking my phone out, I dialed Samm's number. A few yards away, the man pulled out his phone and switched it off. I gripped the phone so tightly my fingers throbbed with a sharp ache. As I suddenly loosened my grip, my diamond wedding ring slipped from my ring finger. rolling into the bustling crowd and vanishing from sight. For 5 years, I had memorized every single one of Sam's triggers. Every time we shared a bed, I scrubbed myself raw, terrified of causing him even the slightest discomfort. Thinking back to the footage of Samm and Fiona, a wave of nausea washed over me. I dialed my mother-in-law's number. "Eleanor, Samm is having an affair." There was a long pause on the other end, followed by a soft, resigned sigh. "Victoria, you know how Samm is with his condition. It was a miracle he found a woman he could tolerate. Try to be understanding." She already knew. Sensing my silence, she tried to soothe me. "Victoria, I promise you, the Levitan family only recognizes you as our daughter-in-law. Once you give us an heir, I will transfer the majority of my Levitan shares to you. With nearly 40% of the company's stock, you can live comfortably without worrying about Sam's little distractions." Her voice was dripping with sweet persuasion, offering a tempting fortune. But what she didn't know was that on the day our families merged our business interests, my parents had already transferred all their Levitan shares to me. The last shred of warmth I felt for this family evaporated under her empty promises. Paige sent me a link to an online profile. "Ms. Ashford, this is Fiona's private account." I tapped the link. The pinned post was a grid of photos. 8 showed sweeping views of the city skyline, while the center photo was a selfie. The angle of the shot could only have been taken from Sam's and my private penthouse suite. The pink diamond necklace my parents had gifted me for our wedding was draped around her neck. The caption read, "The view from our private suite. It feels so good to have someone who remembers every little thing I like." I scrolled down. During a charity golf tournament last year, I had sprained my ankle. Samm had only helped me up before breaking into a cold sweat, visibly shaken by his severe germophobia. Yet on Fiona's profile, the man who couldn't bear human touch was kneeling on the floor, gently massaging her ankle. The caption, "A little slip, and the big boss gets so worried." Although only his profile was visible, I had gazed at the small mole on his jawline too many times to mistake it for anyone else. I systematically compiled every image and forwarded them to my lawyer. It was only when my hands gripped the steering wheel that I realized I was shaking. I drove straight to the Levitan Hotel. Throwing the keys to the valet, I took the private elevator to the penthouse. When the doors opened, the place was a disaster. My custom-tailored gowns in the walk-in closet were covered in neon yellow stickers reading "trash" and "tacky." The silk nightgown from my wedding night lay crumpled on the floor, slapped with a label that read "desperate" and "cheap." Even the organic herbal remedies and therapeutic salves I had painstakingly prepared for Sam's skin condition had been dumped into the trash can. I clenched my teeth, stepping back out of the closet. Taking deep breaths, I used my phone to document every piece of damage. I also took a photo of a white pill lying under the coffee table, texting Paige to have it collected and analyzed. Years of corporate experience had drilled one rule into my mind: always leave a paper trail. The next morning, Paige knocked on my door with a cup of coffee. "Ms. Ashford, I tried to pull the security footage, but the hotel staff said the penthouse cameras require authorization from either Mr. Levitan or Fiona. They refused to hand it over." I let out a cold laugh. The Levitans might own the hotel chain, but the Ashfords were a legacy family of architects and builders with just as much leverage. Our marriage had been a merger of equals, though my feelings for Samm had been genuine. Knowing how protective he was of his personal space, I had managed the hotel's interior operations without ever stepping on his private authority. Now that respect was being used against me. I looked up and handed her a stack of financial reports. "Request the footage as a major shareholder of Levitan Enterprises. My personal property was damaged and stolen. Pulling those tapes is entirely within my legal rights. Also, publish the layoff notice we drafted yesterday immediately." By afternoon, I was holding a team meeting in the hotel's conference room when Fiona, dressed in a light summer outfit with a beach bag slung over her shoulder, burst in. "On what grounds are you firing me?" she demanded, her eyes welling with tears as she looked around at the watching staff. "I was just doing my job for Mr. Levitan, and you're throwing me out. I don't have a wealthy family or a big background. I'm just trying to make a living. Just because you were born with a silver spoon, Ms. Ashford, doesn't mean you have to ruin my life." Faced with her performance, I slammed the folder containing the evidence onto the table. "Doing your job? You use Samm's authority to embezzle high-end hotel vouchers and resell them for personal profit. The paper trail is right here. Do you want to review it?" Instead of backing down, Fiona let out a bitter laugh. "Ms. Ashford, I really don't understand what you're so afraid of." She spread her hands, raising her voice so everyone could hear. "I'm just a cleaner. How could I possibly have the power to do all that? If my presence bothers you so much, I'll leave. But the rest of you better watch your backs. Our dear Ms. Ashford doesn't tolerate anyone she doesn't like." Giving me a venomous look, she leaned in and whispered, "If you push me, you'll be the one who ends up humiliated. Just watch." With that, she ran out of the room, crying hysterically. A few employees looked as though they wanted to speak up for her, but none dared to. Not even 5 minutes passed before Samm's name flashed on my screen. I ignored it. Seconds later, whispers of Mr. Levitan echoed outside the room. Samm strode in, wearing his signature white gloves to avoid direct contact with the door, keeping a careful distance from me. Did you issue Fiona's termination? Yes. Victoria, you're letting your personal feelings interfere with business again. Looking at his cold, dismissive eyes, my remaining respect for him crumbled further. Have you been up to the penthouse lately? Samm frowned, adjusting his cuffs. What does that have to do with Fiona's termination? I held up a flash drive. She vandalized and stole my personal property, and she embezzled hotel assets. It's all on this drive. Samm interrupted me impatiently. I authorized her access to the penthouse. She's just a young girl who got curious. There's no need to make a mountain out of a molehill. A molehill? I let out a sharp laugh and tossed the flash drive at him. Take a look for yourself and tell me if it doesn't meet the threshold for grand larceny. Samm's face darkened. He pulled out a handkerchief to wipe the spot on his suit where the drive had hit him. Whatever is damaged, I'll pay for it. I'll have her apologize to you. But you will withdraw the termination. Fiona did nothing wrong, and she shouldn't have to endure this kind of humiliation. I stared at the white gloves he wore. I was the one who had them custom-made by hand from Europe every month, keeping spares in our home, his car, and his office. Yet he had never once tried to see things from my perspective. He only stood on his moral high ground, correcting me. My voice turned entirely cold. The notice stands. Samm, I want a divorce. Samm fell silent for a moment, then scoffed. So that's what this is about. You're upset because I can touch Fiona without any issues, aren't you? He tossed his handkerchief into the trash can, a lie slipping easily from his lips. Victoria, my relationship with Fiona is purely professional. I am simply looking out for an employee. I lost every ounce of my patience. Stepping closer, I held up my phone. Looking out for her? Samm, is this how you look out for your employees? As I drew near, Samm instinctively slapped my hand away. A sharp, burning pain flared across my skin. I'm sorry, Samm muttered, his brow furrowing as he stared at the red mark on my hand, hesitating to reach out. You got too close. I put my hand behind my back. Leave. The remaining staff members exchanged uneasy glances, keeping silent for the rest of the meeting. By evening, a heavily edited video of Fiona's confrontation in the lobby was circulating online. It showed only her weeping about being bullied, while I sat there looking cold and unbothered. Public opinion flared up instantly. People began twisting the operational guidelines and standard auditing policies I had established, claiming I was exploiting lower-income workers. Within hours, I was painted as a bitter, insecure heiress abusing her power. I stared at the toxic comments flooding my screen. Find out who leaked the video and who is driving this narrative, I told Paige. I had seen this kind of online smear campaign since I was a child. Later that night, Fiona's account updated. She posted a photo of two hands clasped together, showing off matching diamond bands. Samm's back was turned to the camera. The caption read, "He said once I wear this ring, I'm his forever." Someone commented, "Why is his face always hidden? Is he married?" Fiona replied immediately, "What do you know? He's a prominent businessman. He has to maintain his privacy." I scoffed and typed a reply. I know quite a few prominent businessmen, but I don't seem to recognize this one. A few seconds after posting, a text from an unknown number popped up. It was Fiona. Delete that comment right now, or I'll make sure you regret it. I didn't bother replying. By nightfall, my comment had climbed to the top of the thread. Thousands of users began questioning Fiona's role in Samm's life, calling her out as a homewrecker. Panicking, she made a grand announcement. Her boyfriend would be proposing to her at a luxury hotel the following day, and the entire event would be live-streamed. I opened the livestream link and watched the waiting viewer count climb past 100,000. The next morning, I met with my lawyer to finalize the divorce agreement, ensuring every asset division was precise and documented. On my way back to the hotel, Paige called. "Ms. Ashford, we traced the source of the leaked video. It was Fiona herself. Should we file a defamation lawsuit?" "No. Keep the evidence. We'll settle everything at once." The moment I stepped into the hotel lobby, a group of beauty influencers holding phones blocked my path. The woman at the front raised her voice. "Are you Victoria Ashford? What kind of fake vouchers are you selling? The hotel refuses to let us check in." She reached out to shove me, but I caught her wrist firmly, stopping her in her tracks. "First, did you verify the identity of the person who sold you those vouchers? As a major shareholder and design consultant, I have no reason to sell fraudulent vouchers. Second, all legitimate hotel vouchers are registered with the buyer's name. Yours have no registration numbers, meaning they are counterfeit." A few people in the crowd began to hesitate. She has a point, and her voice doesn't sound like the person we spoke to online. The leader wasn't convinced, thrusting her phone near my face. "You're just making excuses. The girl who sold them to us said her name was Victoria Ashford. I don't care, you're the one pocketing our money." I smiled calmly. If I were the seller, there would be transaction records. You are welcome to check. However, if you can provide the contact information and payment details of the person who sold them to you, I will personally arrange for you to stay in an executive suite for free today. The group wavered, whispering among themselves as they sat down in the lobby to look up their purchase history. Right then, the lobby manager entered, accompanied by several police officers. The lead officer stepped forward, showing his badge. Are you Victoria Ashford? I nodded calmly. We received your report regarding stolen property. Please accompany us to the scene to identify the items. I glanced at the influencers, my lips curving slightly. Of course. Everyone, please follow me. At the end of the top-floor hallway, the penthouse door was slightly ajar. Romantic music drifted out into the corridor. Inside, Samm was down on one knee. Fiona, wearing my pink diamond wedding necklace, was crying tears of joy. A phone was set up nearby, broadcasting the scene live, carefully framing only the side of Sam's face. Just as Fiona was about to say yes, I pushed the door wide open. In the dead silence that followed, only the rapid clicking of camera shutters filled the room. I covered my mouth in mock surprise, looking at them. Samm, why are you proposing to our cleaning lady in our hotel? The quiet, romantic violin music drifting from the penthouse speakers died. Instantly, Fiona stood frozen on the velvet steps of the balcony, her hands still trembling from her tearful joy. The diamond band Samm had been about to slide onto her finger remained suspended in the air. But the most striking thing in the room was the pale blue light of her phone, which was still live broadcasting the scene to over 150,000 viewers. Victoria. Sam's voice was a low, ragged groan. He stood up from his knee, his white-gloved hands clenching into tight, rigid fists as his eyes scanned the crowd behind me. Behind me stood 3 uniformed police officers, my legal counsel, Paige, and the group of beauty influencers I had brought up from the lobby. The moment the influencers saw Fiona's face, the leader of the group pointed a dramatic finger at her, her voice rising in pitch. It's her. She's the one who sold us those fake vouchers on WeChat. She used the name Victoria Ashford, but her profile picture had her face hidden. I recognize her voice. Fiona's face went entirely pasty white. She took a hasty step back, her hands instinctively reaching up to cover the pink diamond necklace around her neck. Officer, I said, my voice calm, clear, and carrying a quiet, freezing authority. The necklace she is currently wearing is the customized pink diamond wedding pieces from Harry Winston. It is registered under my personal name, Victoria Ashford, valued at $2.4 million. I've already submitted the purchase receipt and the theft report to your office. The lead officer stepped forward, his boots crunching over the dried rose petals scattered on the floor. Fiona, the officer said, his voice flat and hard. You are under arrest for grand larceny, corporate embezzlement, and trademark fraud. No. Samm, save me. Fiona shrieked, her delicate, innocent face twisting into a mask of pure, ugly panic as she threw her arms around him. She's framing me. The necklace, you gave it to me. You told me I could wear it. Sam's face was a mess of fury and embarrassment. He tried to pull her behind his back, looking at the police captain with his usual, cold corporate authority. Officer, this is a family misunderstanding. I authorized her access to the penthouse. The necklace was just a loan. Mr. Levitan, Paige interrupted, stepping forward and pulling a document from her leather folder. As of 9 o'clock this morning, the Ashford Group has officially terminated the joint venture partnership with Levitan Enterprises. Miss Victoria Ashford has filed for a formal divorce. Under the terms of our corporate partnership, any unauthorized use of Ashford family assets by Levitan staff constitutes a direct breach of fiduciary duty. You have no legal authority to loan Miss Victoria's personal jewelry to a cleaner. The live chat on Fiona's phone screen went completely ballistic, the comments scrolling so fast they were a blur of green and white. Oh my God, is this a real-life mistress arrest? She actually stole the wife's wedding necklace. How shameless. And she scammed people with fake vouchers. She's a thief. Take her away, the captain ordered. 2 officers moved in, pulling Fiona's arms back and clicking the heavy steel handcuffs around her wrists. She screamed and thrashed, her cheap, rented summer dress tearing at the shoulder as they dragged her out of the penthouse. Samm stood in the center of the room, his white gloves covered in the dirt of the dried rose petals, looking completely, utterly ruined in front of the live cameras. While the news of the billionaire's mistress arrest was tearing the internet apart, I sat in the private executive office of the Ashford Group, reviewing the laboratory analysis report Paige had just delivered. The report was about the small white pill I had found under the penthouse coffee table. Chemical analysis. High-dose sulpidem and localized neurological depressants. Long-term ingestion causes severe sensory dulling, cognitive sedation, and temporary paralysis of the central nervous system's sensory overload responses. My hand gripping my coffee cup went entirely cold. Samm's miracle girl. The only woman his severe, hypersterile germophobia could tolerate without a single physical reaction. She hadn't been a miracle. She had been systematically drugging him. She had been crushing these clinical sedatives into his daily herbal tea and water, quietly dulling his sensory nervous system so he wouldn't break into a sweat whenever she touched him. She had kept him in a state of constant, mild, physical sedation just to make him believe she was his soulmate, while she used his authority to drain his company's assets. Does Samm know? I asked, my voice dropping into a freezing, absolute calm. No, Paige said, her eyes cold. He's currently at the precinct trying to bail her out, but the state prosecutor has already blocked his requests due to the grand larceny charges. And his mother, Eleanor, is currently having a complete breakdown in the boardroom. Give the report to the medical board, Paige. I said, my lips curving into a cold hard smile. And release the audit of his private corporate bank accounts. Let's show the board of Levitan Enterprises exactly how much their CEO's professional relationship has cost them. By noon, the news of the systemic poisoning and the embezzlement files hit the financial channels like a nuclear bomb. The stock of Levitan Enterprises plummeted by 40% in a single hour. The board of directors, realizing that their CEO was being sued by his own largest shareholder and was physically compromised by his mistress's drugging, convened an emergency meeting to demand his immediate termination. Samm's mother, Eleanor, who had promised me 40% of the shares to tolerate his distractions, sat in her leather chair, her face pale, her hands shaking as she looked at the hostile takeover documents I laid on the table. Victoria. Please, she stammered, her voice shaking with a frantic, pathetic politeness. We are family. The Ashfords and the Levitans have been together for 10 years. You can't just destroy us over a little mistake. You chose his mistake over my life, Eleanor, I said softly, my voice echoing through the silent boardroom. And now, I am choosing my father's legacy. 6 months later, the grand exhibition hall of the Ashford Architectural Design Center was bathed in a bright, clean light. The massive glass windows looked out over the skyline of the city, and the air conditioning hummed with a quiet, expensive purr, keeping the room at a constant, comfortable 68 degrees. I stood near the center of the room, wearing a tailored emerald green silk trouser suit. My posture was relaxed, my face healthy, and my hands, now free of the raw, painful scars of his slaps, carried a quiet, elegant confidence. I was no longer the long-suffering wife who had scrubbed her skin raw to fit his sterile world. I was Victoria Ashford, the newly elected chairwoman of the Vance Ashford Group. Beside me stood Marcus Vance, a brilliant, broad-shouldered corporate attorney, who had quietly, ruthlessly helped me navigate the final liquidation of the Levitan Group's holdings over the last 6 months. He held my hand naturally, his skin warm, dry and real, his fingers locking with mine with an easy, comfortable warmth. The board has finalized the restructuring, Victoria, Marcus said, his voice deep and gentle. The Levitan Group is officially liquidated. The hotel chain is entirely yours. Thank you, Marcus, I said, my voice thick with a quiet, beautiful peace. For everything. As we turned to speak with a major investor, a sudden, tense commotion near the entrance of the gallery drew everyone's attention. I turned. Standing in the doorway, looking entirely out of place among the elegant, sun-drenched crowd, was Samm. He looked unrecognizable. He had lost 40 pounds, his clothes looked wrinkled and dirty, and his face was covered in raw, red scratches. Now that he was no longer taking the sedatives, his severe hypersterile germophobia had returned. With a terrifying, pathological intensity, he was wearing 3 layers of thick rubber gloves, his body shaking as he kept his distance from everyone. Fiona had been sentenced to 12 years for grand larceny, drug administration without consent, and corporate embezzlement. Her high society dream turned into a gray, concrete cell. Victoria, Samm whispered, his voice cracked with a ragged, pathetic hope. Victoria, please. I was wrong. The corporate life, it's a mess without you. No one knows how to manage my life like you. The house is empty, Victoria. The clothes are dirty. I've spent my whole life being clean, and she made me dirty. Please, let's go back. I looked down at the man who had spent 5 years treating my love as a sterile problem to be corrected. Your world was always too clean for a human heart, Samm, I said softly, my voice carrying a freezing, absolute finality. And I'm done scrubbing myself raw for you. I turned to Marcus, offering him my arm. Let's go back to our guests, Marcus. The air in here is getting a bit heavy. Of course, Victoria, Marcus said, his eyes shining with absolute love. We walked toward the grand hall. Our fingers locked together with a perfect, comfortable warmth. No tissues, no rules, just pure, easy connection. The white gloves were gone. The vacuum was quiet. and my new life had finally begun.